This is Advisor 3.0, a show designed to help you as a financial advisor elevate your professional practice, transform your clients' lives, and take your business to the next level. I am Abraham Okusoya. Welcome to the show. Since the beginning of times, financial planners have understood the immense benefit of collaborating with other professionals, lawyers, accountants, to deliver the best outcomes for clients. But even the best financial planners would accept that this relationship, especially with lawyers, can be fraught. Many financial advisors have expressed their frustration when it comes to building a relationship with the legal profession. And then, of course, many lawyers say that they don't know how or who to refer to when it comes to referring to financial advisors and how to assess them. Well, fear not, because an organization called RQ Ratings is looking to fix these problems, and they've put together an incredibly powerful team of experts to solve this problem. So I am excited to be joined today by a former guest on the show, Philippa Hann, who is partner at Clark and Wilmot, and of course the financial planning maestro herself, Jacqueline Lockie, who runs Lockie Consultancy, and also, as you know, many of you, previous head of the IFP at the CISI. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Abraham.
Thank you, Abraham.
Good to be back.
It's great to have you back, Philippa. But you're a returnee guest on the show. So, but I'm going to go to Jackie first. So Jackie, you're known in the industry, so forgive me, for the insult of even asking you to give our listeners a little bit of a background on your journey and tell us what you're up to these days.
Sure. Thanks, Abraham. Well, it's great to be here. Thanks for the invitation. So as a quick whirlwind, zoom through what I've been up to over the last few decades. Since the very late 1990s, I used to be at the Institute of Financial Planning, Director of Training and Education there, basically looking after the International Certified Financial Planner standards on behalf of the UK. Then after that, spent 10 years with the Association of Investment Companies, primarily designing the first online training for investment managers and wealth managers, all sorts of closed-ended investment funds, investment trusts, and that sort of thing. And then, just as you mentioned, I have been the head of financial planning at the CISI after the merger with the IFP in 2015, now it was. And then latterly, I, as you mentioned, started my own business back in February 21, a consultancy business helping financial planners get through the Certified Financial Planner assessment, and also doing lots of other consultancy work. So I do international consultancy work for the Financial Planning Standards Board, which is the global standard setting body for the Certified Financial Planner worldwide. And also since October 22, I have been working with RQ on a new RQ certification scheme that is about to get up and running, which we're going to tell you all about in a little while.
Fascinating. So you've essentially spent 3 decades in the professional education certification of financial planners.
Yeah, and that's right. And it comes from a background of being a paraplanner myself and having given advice, been a financial advisor I've also worked with a firm of chartered accountants as well. So I kind of understand that accountants and lawyers talk a slightly different language to financial advisors. So I can see where some of those issues that, many people have said to me about over the years have come in, about how to build relationships with other professionals like accountants and lawyers as well, and also how to maintain and grow those relationships, because some of them, obviously, they all start off well-intentioned on both sides, but then something tends to happen, lack of communication, lack of confidence in the other party, and that relationship disintegrates. And so it's trying to get to the bottom. What we've been trying to do is get to the bottom of why that's happening, and build what we can to support both professions.
Incredible stuff. So we'll get to the weeds of that. Philippa, you're a lawyer, a solicitor who just can't get enough of financial planners. I saw you at the CISI, and I was saying to you, you just love this profession, don't you?
I do. I mean, I've been a lawyer for 20 years now, and specialised for the last 17 years in financial services. And I have a huge amount to thank the financial services industry for. I mean, lawyers don't have conferences like financial planners do. But when I first started going to the IFP conferences, it literally blew my mind that people were talking about purpose in the way that they were talking about purpose, and they were talking about making a difference and not just about making money. So yeah, I have a lot that I owe the financial services industry for.
So tell us then, let's go to the foundation of this. What is the fundamental problem that you're looking to solve with this RQ thing, or what is it?
RQ, I got involved in it because I was working with the CISI on a project around professional indemnity insurance. So I have been talking about professional indemnity insurance for a number of years. My view is that part of the financial services industry is actually largely what lets it down. I have a problem with the fact that qualifying insurance allows financial advisors to have exclusions in their policies, which has led to all sorts of problems around people ending up being uninsured, and the pressure that that's put on the FSCS, and the good guys paying for the bad guys' deeds. So I got involved in it because I was working with the CISI on that project, and the opportunity that it has afforded me is to do something which I've always wanted to do, which is create the opportunity for the good guys in financial services to be able to demonstrate to the wider world that they take extra steps, that they genuinely care. And I think it's quite hard to differentiate at the moment. There are lots of good things out there, lots and lots of good. There's Solid, there's Standard International, there's all sorts of really great things out there. But I think for the average man on the street, who I've generally been acting for the last 17 years, it's quite difficult to differentiate where the good people sit and where they don't. And I've seen so much in the way of catastrophic losses that have been, I've been involved in Equitable Life, in the banking crisis, in AIG Premier Access bonds, 2 Ponzi schemes, Arch Crew, Key Data, film schemes, British Steel. The list goes on of the scandals really that have hit the financial services industry. And yet, as you say, I absolutely love this industry, and there are so many really great advisors out there who deserve to be recognised.
So, Jackie, tell us, what does RQ do? How does it help good financial planners? When we say, every time I say that, good financial planners, like it's an implication that there are bad ones. But how
There
does...
probably are some bad ones.
Yeah. How does RQ help the good girls and guys in the profession?
Okay. So RQ has a number of component parts. It has a base platform, which we call Compass, which allows financial planning firms to load into their details. If they have a relationship with an existing accountant or lawyer already, then they can join the platform and load in their details, and then the platform essentially allows a basic referral mechanism for other lawyers and accountants to refer to that particular financial planning firm. But that doesn't require very much, under the bonnet research or, stress testing of the financial planning firm to establish whether they are some of the best that we have in the profession or not. So what we've done is we have developed a kite mark called RQ Certified. And what RQ Certified does is it takes the financial planning firms on that platform, and if they want to, they can go through this extra level of deep dive of certification, and it helps the financial planning firm ensure that they've got all their ducks in a row, essentially, to be able to prove to the law profession, but also the accountancy profession as well, from a base of due diligence, strong due diligence that we're doing on each of those firms, that they are one of the good guys.
Help me understand this. So on this platform, you've got database of lawyers, existing lawyers and accountants, and you are, of course, you got database of financial advisors as well. So any advisors, any firm can just go and join up, not just join the firm, but join up their existing relationship that they have with accountants and lawyers, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So where the RQ Certified is different, this is about shining the light on the good guys in the profession, is that if the financial planning firm, a lot of financial planning firms are looking for new referrals, building better relationships, long-term relationships with both accountants and lawyers. So it's RQ Certified, the extra level of certification that they can go through once they've joined the Compass platform, that basically, essentially, it replaces the due diligence that's required by the ICAW for the accountants, and also helps fulfill most of the obligations as far as lawyers go for passing their clients or recommending their clients seek advice from a particular financial planning firm.
Philippa, sorry, go on.
Yeah. I was going to say there are a number of steps that we go through through that certification process to ensure that all the checks and balances are in place before we award any one financial planning firm that certification.
Yeah, I'll come back to the certification in a second, Jackie. So Philippa, what obligations do lawyers have, when it comes to referring a client to financial advisors?
Actually have as many obligations as accountants do. So accountants, the ICAW requires there to be much more in the way of recording of those relationships and who's been referred to whom and when, and etc. So just on that side of things, actually we've got some really great news. So we are partnering with the ICAW going forward. This is brand new, Abraham. And they will be working with us to make sure, their regulatory team will be working with us to make sure that the platform ticks all the boxes from the accountancy side of things. So that's really, really exciting. From a solicitor's perspective, you need to act in the client's best interests. And are you really acting in the client's best interest if you haven't done any due diligence on your financial planner or your financial advisor? Lexcel, which is one of our kite marks, is quite a very popular kite mark for lawyers to achieve. They will require that solicitors do due diligence and keep a record of who they are referring their clients to. So, but more importantly, I suppose, is actually that professional services strategy, that connection, and really putting your client at the centre of what it is that you are doing. So lawyers can be quite transactional. Client comes to us, can you deal with this piece of litigation? Can you sell my business? Can you buy this property for me? And we tend to be quite
I'm so glad this is coming from a lawyer.
But we're simply doing this for the client. It's true. And I think actually as a profession, we're pretty bad at having really good conversations with our clients. Financial planners are far better, in my experience, of having really good, really deep, proper conversations with their clients about what really makes a difference to them. So one of the things we're doing at RQ is trying to help lawyers and accountants to have better conversations with their clients. We had a great story the other day from an accountant who was using, as Jackie mentioned earlier, Compass. So Compass is it's effectively a fact find. It's not as detailed as a financial planner would use with any of their clients, but it's far more detailed than an accountant and lawyer would ordinarily use with their clients. We had this great conversation with an accountant who said, "I've been working for this client for years and years. And usually what happens is they come into my office, I take them through some numbers, they say, yes, I know, I gave you those numbers. And then, everyone signs some piece of paper and everyone goes home and that's it. And everyone dreads that conversation and it's just not fulfilling for anyone. But they used Compass and they went through, you can go through Compass with your client, you can send it to your client. And what it does is it triggers all of those, what's your name, what's your date of birth, how many children do you have, do you own a home, have you got your own business, do you have business continuity insurance, do you have key man insurance, do you have a will, do you have an EPA, all that kind of stuff. And the accountant said, I've been working with this man for 10 years, I didn't know he had kids. Just really shocking. It prompted a conversation around the fact that his client wanted to sell his business in 5 years' time. And that Compass creates a cash flow, and the accountant was finally able to understand that his client would not be able to retire unless he was able to sell his business for a certain amount. Then they were able to have a really great conversation. Right. If this is really important, then we need to look at your business differently. If this is really important, then you need to go and see a financial planner. If this is really important, we need to get a lawyer involved. It's driving a much better conversation for the clients of solicitors, accountants, and financial planners, so that we're really putting the client at the centre of what we do, and we can all work together to make sure that client has a really amazing outcome.
It's such a powerful thing that, as you begin to talk about it, anyone hearing this, I'm sitting here thinking, why hasn't this been done? It's such a, shall I say, no-brainer, isn't it? That and I find this in my personal experience with lawyers, we always, as a profession, we always say, the financial planners have to look up to lawyers and accountants. And I understand this because they are far more established professions. But like in my relationship with lawyers, where there are millions of pounds of money involved, recently with my accountants, I just find your description of them being transactional really apt, that they just focus on, Abraham wants to solve this tax problem, or you want to solve this business thing, let's just solve it, off you go. Nobody thinks about the fallout. So what you're doing is incredible. I didn't realize until you started explaining this, Philippa, that there is a client angle. There is a fact find, bringing the client into this equation on board as well.
Yeah. And so once you've identified that opportunity, you can then go onto the platform and you can create a panel. So there are lots of solicitors firms and accountants firms are quite large. I mean, Clark Wilmot, we have 650 staff. I don't know who's referring what to whom and why. And so I sort of asked myself, what would it be like if we had a bird's eye view of exactly where those referrals were going to, where they were coming from? Is there more we can do to develop that relationship? Have we had a really great result with a client being referred over to a financial planner? And have we even asked them about it? Have we followed up to see what their experience was like? Is there more we can do? And one of the complaints around referrals is always, as Jackie mentioned earlier, remaining informed. What's happened with that client? Are they doing anything else? Was this a good referral? Is there anything more I can do? So what RQ does is gives you a bird's eye view of exactly what's being referred, when it's being referred, whether it was successful, whether it was not successful. So you can then follow that up. And I think that will be really, really powerful.
And how much of this, mini fact find is passed on or is shared between accountant or lawyers and the financial planners?
That's up to the client. I mean, data is a precious, precious thing, isn't it? And the client is always in charge of their data. So they get to decide. But what you might expect or hope is that actually one of the things that having gone through this mini fact find does is it prevents the client from having to answer all exactly the same questions for the next professional that they speak to. I mean, we've all been there, haven't we? When you've been referred on and you're suddenly having to give somebody your date of birth again and your address again and all that kind of stuff. But really, this enables us to tie up that relationship. And it's an easy conversation with the client to say, look, we've got some great information when we went through Compass. Are you happy for me to pass that over to the financial planner with a bit of an explanation around the conversation that we had? And they will understand you far better before they actually even have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
And it's probably worth also mentioning that the mini fact find and the cash flow is not designed to replace, Truth or Presswood or Voyant or anything like that.
Why are they sacred cows?
Well, yeah, everybody has their own software. So one step at a time, Abraham. But what we're trying to achieve is that the accountant and solicitors feel more informed about their client and they can start those conversations. Because sometimes certainly I've been in a situation when I've worked with the accountancy firm that I worked alongside for quite a long time, that accountants, particularly, well, lawyers as well, but accountants talk a slightly different language to a financial planner, as I'm sure you all know, Abraham. And because of that, they don't always ask the same sort of questions. And then there's a bit of apprehension about, well, if I ask a question, I don't know what to do with the answer. And so this is designed to gather some initial information without going into, all of the extra things that we would do as financial planners, but enough to enable the other professionals to have more confidence in engaging their clients, so that they don't kind of sit there and go, oh well, if you want to sell your business in 20 years time, where do you want to be in 10 years time, and all of those kinds of things that the financial planners would ask your clients. It's not designed to replace that. It's just designed to be a kind of conversation opener and a starting block collecting a lot of the basic information and giving a lot of the financial plan the opportunity to build on that rather than reinvent the wheel again.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Jackie, that every financial planner has their own shrine. I worship at the altar. People are dropping off this podcast right now. Like just switching off. I worship at the altar of Voyant and Cash Cow and Timeline and all that stuff. I get that. I also get the demarcation. Each of us have to understand where our expertise starts and ends. So I get that. But there are things that are essentially universal. So as you were talking about this, let's say, for instance, ID and V, identification of the client, their passport, their whatever. There are independent tools in the marketplace that do this, but imagine that they've done this with their accountant. It's been verified, their passport, all of that stuff is being done in a digital way, and then they come to the financial planner and they have to start the process all over again. Now, not to be giving the people at RQ, business ideas, but that's exactly where we should go. That if I was running this thing, that's where I'm going to go, so that it makes life easier. The winner in all of this, I think, is the client. But what do I know?
The aim, isn't it? I think that's what I learned from financial planners, actually, is putting the client at the centre of this. And I just think if we all do that, we will all benefit. And if we can make sure that the work is going to the really good guys, and we can just put the bad guys out of business and shine a light on the people who do it really, really well, then that's got to be a great thing for the industry. I'm tired of picking up these scandals, and I really want to make a difference for the people in the industry who deserve it, who deserve all the business. There are some absolutely superb financial planners out there who make a real difference to their clients, and that's who I want my clients to talk to. That's who I want found by the general public, not the bad guys.
I like that phrase, shining the spotlight on the good guys. So, Jackie, tell me, why on earth do I need yet another certification? Because you told me, right, this is what an advisor will be saying. You told me to get the regulator tells me to get my diploma, right? I got my diploma out of the way. And then I went on and got my chartered financial planner out of the way. And you, Jackie, told me I need to get my CFP out of the way. I got my CFP out of the way. That's not enough, apparently. Then they introduced accredited financial planning planners qualification, and there is chartered financial planners qualification, accreditation. There is chartered wealth manager from the CISI, and then that's apparently not enough. I will go to Standards International to have my, firms audited and accredited. I mean, we are covered in certifications and accreditations, and you're just asking us to do another one.
So, yes, indeed I am, but you will know me well enough, Abraham, by now to know that if I was asking financial planning firms to do this, that I would be ensuring that it is as simple and as pain-free as possible to complete. Not necessarily to achieve, but to complete.
Oh, I know with the CFP. Yes.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Carry on.
But the RQ certified is looking at a slightly different thing. It's looking at the whole financial planning firm. So it's not just, so there are lots of great, as Philippa mentioned earlier, there are lots of great accreditations out there already. And if you think of it from an accountancy point of view, if an accountant wanted to refer a client for financial advice to a financial planning firm, there are a number of steps that they have to go through as far as due diligence goes in order to select a suitable firm. Unless they have, which there is a dwindling number of accountants who have permissions to give advice themselves. So the vast majority don't have permissions to give advice themselves. So they have to refer a client on. So if you refer a client to a large firm, it's one set of due diligence and off you go. And then you can just keep referring your clients as the accountant to that same firm, forevermore. What we're trying to do is we know that a lot of the best financial planning firms in the profession are smaller financial planning firms. And if an accountant wanted to refer to a number of different smaller financial planning firms, they would have to go through all of those due diligence hoops again and again and again for all of the different financial planning firms that they might want to refer a client to. So what we're doing is the RQ certified is essentially designed to do the heavy lifting for them. So both for the accountants and also for the lawyers, that the due diligence is essentially completed by us on those financial planning firms. So it means we're opening the doors, we're opening the lines of communication between the accountancy profession, the law profession, and the financial planners. So that is the aim of it. So it's not just, so if you look at SOLA, for example, great accreditation, that is looking at essentially vulnerable clients. Standards International, looking at business processes and auditing from that perspective. CFP important individual qualifications for CFP and CII chartered. What we're trying to do is take all of that information and say, okay, well, these are just individual strands that don't necessarily on their own make a good financial planning firm. What we want to do is imagine it like a 3D jigsaw puzzle. There are different component parts that if you add them together, give us a huge and in-depth overview, and we can assess then whether we believe that that firm is a good financial planning firm from a due diligence point of view, so that it then essentially all that due diligence process is done for the accountants and lawyers. So all they have to do is go, right, I want to refer my client, imagine an accountant has their biggest client who needs financial advice. They've got the twitches, you want to be able to confidently refer your client to a great financial planning firm, knowing full well that the quality and level of service that your client is going to get. And by going through and choosing a firm that has RQ certified kite mark, then that due diligence is already done.
Fascinating stuff.
That's why I'm asking you to do one more certification.
one more. So let's dive into the kind of information that you actually collect from the firms or the aspects that you look at. So I am guessing one will be all of their existing certifications and accreditations that they have from the different, bodies that exist today. What else do you look at? What else are you looking for? What sort of information does it go into? Compliance, the financials of the IFA firm.
So essentially, yes, and yes. Let me run down the subject titles to give you a flavour. So the first thing we look at is the underlying structure of the firm, looking at conflicts of interest, whether advisors are employed, self-employed, whether they're contracted, as well as are they chartered or certified, and do they have SPSs, just to ensure that all, the I's are dotted and T's are crossed from that point of view. We then go on to look at the types of service that the financial planning firm offers, whether they're independent or restricted, and the kinds of clients that they will typically do business with. We then look at the financial management of the firm. So can the financial planning firm be used as, one of the director's personal piggy banks, for example? Where are the checks and balances in place at that firm? We then look at the professional referrers? Do they have, or have they had any previous relationships with professional referrers like accountants or lawyers in the past? Whether they've still got those relationships or not, then we follow up with those other professionals to see if the relationship soured, what the reasons were, and find out what has happened on that front. One of the other areas is staff management. Is the financial planning firm supporting and treating their staff correctly? Are they, got all the training and support in place in order for the staff to be able to give the right kind of support to that particular client? So, is the firm going to do what it says it's going to do? Is it actually doing what it says it's going to do? Then one of the probably most important things, I left the best till last for you, Abraham, risk management, looking at, the governance of the firm and risk protocols that are in place for the firm. How does the financial planning firm identify where its business risks are, and what does it do about those risks? So it's not a case of saying, well, for example, I've had a complaint that's gone to the Foals and they found against me as a financial planner. Therefore, there's no point me applying because, I'd get a black mark for that. That is only one small part of the overall structure of things that we're looking at. And then we're looking at client care. How do they give the service that they say they're going to give? And file management, all the records, IT, all that kind of stuff, cybersecurity, ESG considerations, all of those things are all up to date. So you can see that all of those component parts, just mentioning, are you a certified financial planner, for example, is just one of the tiniest component parts of all of this. We're looking at the overall structure of the firm, but more importantly, we're not just looking at, do you have a process in place for this? Do you have a process in place for, a client who calls out of the blue, or a referral from a lawyer or an accountant? What we're checking is that process actually being applied on a daily basis and consistently on a daily basis? And so that's the difference between this accreditation, this certification, and others. The other big difference is that it is reviewed on an annual basis.
Right.
So this isn't an invest and forget, or just fill in a form and say, yep, I'm still good, thanks very much, in 12 months' time. And we all know the issues that both the CISI, one particularly the CII, has had with financial planning firms saying that they've got their chartered status and haven't. So this is much more rigorous. So we have a full reassessment process every 3 years. And in the intervening years, we have mini audit process that goes into place. So you can see it's much more comprehensive than have I got my CFP or have I passed one of my other accreditations.
It is very comprehensive. Thank you, Jackie, for walking us through it. I have a couple of questions. One is, so I expect that at the end of this process, it's quite possible that a firm will end up with a giant F mark, i.e. they failed the process.
Yes, it's possible. So there is the way that we have created the process, it's in 2 stages. So there is an initial application stage, asking a few questions and asking to provide some basic information. So if you have one of the other accreditations, for example, say you have been through Standards International, one of their assessments, then you will already have some of the documentation that we're required to see. You might already have information on your website about some of the things that we would want to see. So you just pop those on the email to us, links if they're on your website, nice and simple. After that, at that stage, there will be a 3-stage assessment. So you will either fail the initial assessment and we will give feedback, or you marginally fail, a kind of qualified compliant, if you like, which you kind of just about there or thereabouts, but there's room for improvement. And again, we will need feedback. We'll give feedback and work with the financial planning firm timescales and the sorts of things that we are looking to see. or you pass that first stage of assessment. So if you pass, that's a really straightforward. You either got the document, a link to, or you haven't. Some basic questions. And then once you go through that first round of assessments and you go through that and that's all fine, then that means that you've got the basics in place. And then there is a second round of auditing, which there will be either a virtual or on-site visit, depending on the office setup. And there are more questions that we will be, more in-depth questions that we'll be asking. So we'll be asking for things like, risk registers and, the plan of action that falls out of those. So obviously we're not going to ask up front for that kind of information for those firms who perhaps wouldn't make the first cut, if you like. And then we engage that firm in the assessment process is similar to the first round of assessment, where you either fail and feedback, or kind of marginally compliant or fully compliant. So what we're aiming to do with our audit process is we're aiming to identify those firms who, to take them on a journey, as Philippa talks about quite a lot, of highlighting the areas that consistently maybe weak or maybe need to be strengthened. We would like to see strengthened. And then we will be encouraging those firms to come on a journey with us to help improve those firms as well as we go.
So, Philippa, my question then is that, are you taking the accountants and the solicitors or the lawyers through similar hell?
It's interesting because actually this is quite reminiscent of the kite mark that we have as a law firm and lots of other law firms, the Lexell law firm kite mark, which is a law society kite mark. And, every year they come in to the firm for a week and everybody runs around going, oh my God, Lexell are in, and, have we done everything we should? And they quite literally want to speak to the CEO, to the risk officer, and then also want to speak to the receptionist. They want to speak to 20 different fee earners. And I've been interviewed by them. And this is the similar thing that we will be doing. And they say, how is it here? What's it like? Are you listened to? Do you know how to do things? Do you know how to find things? What's the culture like? Do you feel safe here? Are you able to raise any issues? And my experience of all the bad things that I've seen is that actually it does come down to things like culture. It comes down to psychological safety. It comes down to, are you able to raise your hand and say, this is a problem, I don't think this is right? And we'll be asking those questions, which I think is fantastic, because nobody has, the FCA has concentrated, of course, on the big firms where they can cause, far more problems. And there's been a light touch approach to, and we certainly are not going to describe ourselves in any way or as a regulator, but lawyers seeing or understanding that financial planners are being monitored in the same way that we are. That, it's scary referring a client, isn't it? This is your precious client and you want them to have the best possible experience. And so knowing that firm has chosen to put themselves through an audit of this style, and to have ongoing monitoring and all those opportunities for improvement, and to lay themselves open to say, help us to be better. Are we doing a good job? Are we not doing a good job? I think that's, for lawyers and accountants, I think that's a really, really comforting thing. Yes.
Understood. So I mean, I think you guys have a true definition of a platform. So the word platform is used, really poorly in our own in the financial services industry. What you guys have actually got is a true platform of bringing, in this case, professionals together, and to an extent their clients, and there is actually a collaboration going on. So that's something that should scale. So tell us about. I'll come back to an aspect of the commercials that I want to go to, but before that, surely people should be kicking your door down, because at the end of the day, this is about helping financial planners collaborate better with accountants and solicitors who should refer clients to them. So how are you finding the adoption both from the planner side of things and also the accountants and solicitor side of things?
Well, we've got a waiting list of
Good.
financial planners. So, go to the RQ website, you can join the waiting list, and we will be in touch just as soon as we can for Jackie's special touch. And as I say,
baptism of fire, more like. No, I should stop. Yeah. Please, Jackie, forgive me. Sorry. Carry on, Philippa.
The ICAEW loves it so much, they want to partner with us and for their regulatory team to work with us to develop the platform even more, to make sure that all of their members will be using it. They've been absolutely blown away by it, and they see this as a real way to make sure that the ICAEW members are complying with all their referrals obligations and having better conversations with their clients. And I am talking to as many lawyers as I can about the fact that they really should be on here, and they should be referring to people or financial planners who have the RQ certification. I mean, as you say, it just makes sense.
What would be the equivalent of ICAEW with lawyers? Or would that be the Solicitor Regulatory Authority because the way I've understood it is there are some guidelines in terms of how lawyers should do their due diligence to refer clients to financial planners or financial advisors. But as Jackie pointed out, what tends to happen is that, and I've seen a lot of planners complain about this, that, lawyers tend to just give most of their clients to, bigger firms. SJPs come up in a few of conversations. So what would be the equivalent of ICW for lawyers, and how do we get them behind this?
Yeah, so it's just the Solicitors Regulatory Authority. So they are the regulator, and we have the Law Society, which is our professional body.
I don't understand the difference. Sorry.
So you've got the FCA, which is the Financial Services Regulator, and you have the CII and the CISI. So that's the same equivalent of the SRA and the Law Society.
Right. So
we are in.
Sorry. I'm sorry to cut you. I'm coming from this from a position of true and utter ignorance. So forgive me. So the Solicitor Regulatory Authority will be the equivalent of the FCA, and the Law Society will be the professional body. Got it. In the end, yes. Exactly
that. So, yes, so we're talking to the SRA about going through their sandbox process. And I work closely with the Law Society anyway, so I'm talking at their Future of Work conference on Wednesday next week. Okay. We need to spread the word. Please do spread the word, because we need the clients to win and the good guys to win.
Yeah. One final question from me before I let you both give your parting words is this thing. So what about the commercial relationship between an accountant and a financial advisor, or a financial advisor and a lawyer? Is that entirely down to them? Is there any particular rule or law around that?
We are entirely agnostic as to whether or not there is any money that exchanges hands as a result of clients being referred. We can handle that money, so we can handle the entirety of that commercial relationship. And as the referrals come through the platform, we will deal with the exchange of money as well. So that the whole thing will be taken out of their hands. Sorry, Jackie.
We can also, for those who are new to working with other professionals and want to set up a formal agreement, we can also facilitate that as well.
That is incredible. It's incredible. This is gold mine. Can I ask so who are the people behind this? Who are the people who actually came up with this idea and pushing it? Obviously, you guys are part of the overall team, but who are the people who came up with this originally?
Oh, there's an amazing team behind this. So you have Jackie. You have Johnny Ridd, who is our CEO. Got Michael
Who?
Smith,
Sorry, I forget. Sorry, I keep talking over you. I know this is bad, but it happens when I'm overly excited about it.
You did a podcast before, Abraham. We've got Michael Smith. We've got who's a CFP from an accredited firm. We have Johnny Ridd. James Valentine. We have Harry Cadu, who is he was previously involved with the ICAW as an accountant, and he runs all sorts of amazing networking for accountants. So it's a bunch of people who have been involved heavily in all of these professions who've seen an opportunity for us to do it better, for us to collaborate better, for us to ask better questions and have better conversations and to learn more from each other about what makes a really good experience for each of our clients, so we can make sure that we make that happen.
One of the pluses also, Abraham, is that we are looking to talk to professional indemnity insurers on the back of this for those who do become RQ certified, to try and get a reduction in the PI annual premium that's been paid. So once we have a critical number of good financial planning firms who've obtained the RQ certified kite mark, then we will be able to go to the PI insurers and to the brokers and challenge them on, because we have such comprehensive information on these firms, in order to try and get them to reduce the PI insurance premiums on an annual basis. And you might recall that back in the day, many moons ago, the IFP did achieve that. So we know that it is achievable, but we need a critical mass of a number of good financial planning firms to go through that process. So that'll be kind of phase 2 once everybody's on board, or a decent number of financial planning firms are on board and have achieved the kite mark, then we will be going on with that.
Without abusing your times, so thank you very much for your wisdom, for your time, for the work you're doing. I think this is truly innovative and potentially transformational in the profession. Do you ladies have any parting words, anything that we haven't covered yet, or anything that you wanted to say to our audience before we say goodbye?
Come and check us out. Come and have a look on the website. Come and talk to us. You can book a demo. You can book a call. We'll take you through the platform. You can see exactly what it looks like, exactly how it will work. It costs you nothing apart from a little bit of time. So go to the website, book a demo, put yourself on the waiting list, and we'll do the rest.
Jackie?
Yes, so I would say that for those good financial planning firms who are looking to work or have closer working relationships with accountants and lawyers in the UK, to sign up for Compass, get to know what it looks like, sign up for a demo, and then apply for the RQ certified, so that you can be in that first cohort to go through the certification, and then hopefully in the shortish term, we'll be able to get some pressure on those PI insurance premiums as well for you. And obviously, we want to do everything that we can to build those long-term and better relationships for your financial planning firms. So if it interests you, then log in and join the waiting list.
Philippa Hann, Jacqueline Lockie, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for your wisdom. Thank you for coming on the podcast. There is a lot I like about this. I think that what you guys are doing is platformizing professional services, which is really, really interesting, or professional relationship. I don't know. I'm trying to use some clever words. But ultimately, I think this is something that could be transformational for the relationship between financial planners and other professionals. So thank you very much for the work you're doing, and thank you for sharing, coming on the podcast to share with us. Thank you. That's a wrap on today's show. Massive thanks to my production crew, especially Jake Osha, Melissa Canham, and the entire team. And of course, to our sponsor, Timeline, the market-leading provider of integrated planning technology and model portfolio service to advisors. I do hope you've enjoyed today's show. Head over to Apple Podcast and give us your review there. Until next time, goodbye.